Is it a buyer's market or a seller's market? And it's both. And what's happening right now is you're seeing it be a seller's market for good, well-oiled machine businesses, and you're seeing a buyer's market for businesses that maybe need to clean their books up a little bit, or the business is a little bit more dependent on the ownership because what's happening right now is you're getting a ton of attention on this space of buying small to mid-sized businesses, and it's a combination of what's going on in social media right now. You have a lot of big names who are now talking about it, and it's bringing in a lot of attention around the idea of buying a small business for cash flow, for building a portfolio, right? And that's awesome and that's great. But you also get, people who are coming into this space that maybe aren't qualified or they don't know what they're doing. You're going to have that in every industry, but you're getting a lot of attention from social media. You're starting to see private equity dip down to businesses that are doing $1 million in EBITDA, which you didn't always see. And then the big one is you're having a lot of these corporate professionals starting to look at this space of buying a small business, whether it's corporate layoffs or just burnout. I talk to so many people that come from corporate and they're just burnt out. They want to leave. They don't want to work for anybody anymore, that golden handcuff situation that they're trying to break free of. And then you have these NBA students who are focusing on this entrepreneurship through acquisition, right? There's all these programs on teaching how to buy businesses for these MBA students. And so you've got all of this interest from all these different areas coming into this space, and they're all looking for the same thing, right? They're all looking for a business that's doing, $1 million in profit. It's not dependent on the owner. The revenue's stable. The revenue's consistent. They've been around for several years. And so if you check all those boxes, I think you're going to be very, very surprised at how much interest you get on your business. And that's when it's a seller's market because now you've got the higher ground to stand on. You're going to see people compete and start to drive that asking price up. It's going to drive those multiples up. And that's what you want. You have to create a business where you're generating all this competition to get an accepted offer from the seller on that business. And you're going to get all this attention from all these different types of buyers and these different groups of buyers. That's when it's a seller's market, right? And where it's a buyer's market is maybe you don't quite have all those boxes checked, right? You need to clean up your financials a little bit, get your profit and loss statements cleaned up a little bit, and just get everything in order on your books. Going back 3 years, going back 5 years, and get that cleaned up. Maybe the business is a little bit more dependent on the owner or the owners of the business than you would like, and, again, these buyers aren't scared of working in these businesses, but you're shrinking your buyer pool if it's dependent on you, because now you need to look for buyers who have direct experience in that industry in order to fill your shoes, in order to fill those shoes, because you're responsible for generating revenue. Now they need to be responsible for generating revenue or hire somebody, but that's going to cut into the cash flow now. And so you just shrink your buyer pool when it's dependent on the owners of the business. And so again, you're still going to see a ton of attention. You're still going to get a lot of interest, but buyers are now going to nitpick at little things and drive that price down. And so that's where you're going to see more of a buyer's market, right? So again, I always just encourage people, if you're planning on selling in the near future, it's gonna pay so much dividends if you just take the time to pay someone, clean your books up for the last 3 to 5 years, start working on getting yourself out of the operations of the business. I'm not saying don't work. You can still work as much as you want, but don't be the one directly responsible for bringing in a big chunk of revenue, because then a buyer's going to see that and they're going to have to fill those shoes. And if they don't have direct industry experience, they're going to have to hire someone, which is going to cut into cash flow, which just doesn't make it as valuable in their eyes, and they might try and get the price down a little bit or just go walk away, and you don't want that. And so it is so beneficial to just take the year or 2 years to get all those boxes checked. And then when you do go to sell, you're going to be the one with the higher ground, with all the leverage, and trust me, you are going to watch people compete against other buyers to get an accepted offer on your business, for you to sign the letter of intent for them, from them, right? And that's what you want. You want to create this interest and this competitiveness on getting an accepted offer for your business. And so get those boxes checked, and you will be very happy you did so.